Today on Locked On Hornets, I answer your sickest questions from the Sicko Satchel, including which 8 players I would protect in an expansion draft type of situation. Why is Paul George being so mean to the Charlotte Hornets? What costume am I going to wear when this channel eclipses 10,000 subscribers on YouTube? There is a Mount Rushmore question in here. We've got a lot to get to. Plus, Summer League Game 4 preview. It's a big one. Let's get to it. Locked On Hornets.
You are Locked On Hornets, your daily Charlotte Hornets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
Welcome in. This is Locked On Hornets. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Doug Branson. You can follow my work on everyhornetsboxscore.com, where I will be doing a write-up of Summer League Game 4, recapping everything that happens. We'll be previewing what will happen a little bit later in the show. I'm typically joined by Walker Mail of WFNZ, the Wes and Walker Show, 12 to 3. He's on vacation for the rest of the week. I'm solo today. And then tomorrow, David Walker, former co-host of the show, current family member of the show, will be joining me to wrap up the week that was. But we have got a lot of questions from the Sicko Brigade. Join subtext.com/Locked On Hornets if you want to join the Sicko Brigade. You help support the show. You also get a direct line to me, and it comes to my phone. We text back and forth. It's a very cool thing, and it's the official home of the Sicko Satchel, where Hornets sickos, those that we just can't stop. We cannot stop being irrational about this team. I wish there was a medicine. I wish there was something I could take to make me feel different feelings about this team, but I just can't. I'm sick, and so are you, and we've got some great questions. So let me remind you of a few things. You can subscribe to this podcast on YouTube. Audio, take us with you on the go if you like to watch us, but sometimes you're at the gym, sometimes you're in the car. You can take us on the go on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever you use to listen to audio podcasts. If you've been supporting the show a long time in audio, because we've been doing this show nearly 10 years, and a vast majority of those 10 years have been spent doing audio-only podcasts. But now we have a YouTube channel, and it is growing. It is eclipsed 9,000 subscribers. I want to get to 10K by the end of the NBA Cup. I'm not even going to say playoffs. I'm going to say let's get to 10K by the end of the NBA Cup, and that way we'll pass the Locked On Suns podcast, which is really my only goal. I just want to pass them. We've already given them all of our centers. I now want to pass the Locked On Suns podcast. I don't know why I have this agenda. Those gentlemen over there do a fantastic job. Love Ben, love Brendan. No qualms with them. I just have this irrational desire to pass Locked On Suns in the subscriber count. So help us do that. Go to YouTube, hit subscribe. Okay, time to dig around the Sicko Satchel, and we get to first Bam Bam of the 21st Ricky Pierce division, a.k.a. the Flying Big Paper Daddies. And Bam Bam asks this question: how do you define a successful 2025-26 season? Side note, Paul George, speaking with Baron Davis, said he would never go to Charlotte to play, even though he likes the city. What type of success would the Hornets have to have in order to change free agents' minds to want to play for us? In my opinion, it would be to make the playoffs outright and look competitive in the series. So this is what Paul George, this is one of the quotes from Paul George on the Charlotte Hornets, on why he would never sign with Charlotte. Quote, "I'm not picking Charlotte just because there's no winning culture there. Charlotte's an amazing city. I can see myself living there, but my career is over with if I go there." Unquote. Paul George right now, another arthroscopic procedure on his knee, procedure P, playoff P, DNP. This is a guy that is not playing much very more. I think there are a lot of questions about what the future of his career looks like. So I don't know that this question is really I think Bam Bam's on the right track. Like, what do the Hornets have to do to attract the next Paul George type of player, rather than what do you have to do to attract Paul George necessarily? But I think players are a lot like fans in a way, and just human beings in a way, that like you have a lot of things going on. And so, and I talk about this with the national media too, like they have a lot to cover And so they're going to cover the biggest stories, the biggest teams with the biggest fan bases. And when they have to cover the Charlotte Hornets for some reason, you're going to hear something that's not quite right because they're being fed information, maybe by people that are just catching up, producers that are just catching up on the Hornets as well. And, they have to be general with it because they have not been following it all the way. You only get the nuance. You only get the understanding if you follow stuff as closely as we do. That's what makes this podcast special and all of the local podcasts on the Locked On Podcast Network. So I don't blame Paul George for not knowing that the Charlotte Hornets are building a winning culture right now. They are in the midst of it. It's not a finished project. And so I guess that's the answer to the question, like finish the project. And how do you finish building a winning culture? You win. You win things. You challenge for the NBA Cup. You win play-in games. You don't get smoked in play-in games. You win them. And then you go to first-round playoff series and you win those, which is not even something that the 15-16, the last time they were in the postseason, they could not win a first-round series, unfortunately. So that's how you do it. You're on national television and people are talking about you. Like these players, they listen to national media. They watch national media. So Paul George is not checking this show out. That's just reality. So I think that's the answer to the question. How would I define a successful season this season? One in which LaMelo Ball plays 60 plus games. Brandon Miller plays 70 plus games. One in which you're able to both stay competitive and maybe obtain a few extra assets for a move in 26, 27 summer. Like I think all of those, if they get to the playoffs, great. That's awesome. Getting playoff experience, postseason experience, even if it's play-in experience, games with stakes, even NBA Cup, if they were to sneak in backdoor into the NBA Cup, give these players, these young players, games with stakes. All of that, I think, would combine to be a successful season. If they don't make the playoffs, to me, that doesn't make it an unsuccessful season. I'll just kind of say that off the bat. Not this season. I think next season will be the one where you go, okay, it's do or die. You've got to do something. But they have to be competitive this season. It cannot be a washout at the end of the year. All right, next question here. I'm going to try to get to as many of these as possible. There were a lot, and I'm going to selfishly answer as many as possible and not save any for Walker to answer later on, or David Walker. Maybe I'll save one for David. There was one really interesting one that I think he would have some insight on. All right, here we go. Moving on. Schumann. We'll get one more here in this segment. Schumann of the 22nd Mullins Regiment says, Summer League is for feelings. So let's do a quick word association to see how you're feeling about our team. All right, so word association wants one word. One word. First word that comes to mind for offense. Shootier. They've had a lot of shooters. They've added people with shot quality talent, I mean, I don't know if the percentages for everybody's going to light it up, but you've got players that are going to be threats from beyond the arc. Defense, bootier. They've gotten worse defensively, right? I mean, just when you look at what the individual players are capable of. But, and I think this is a big but, and I need to dig into this with Walker in future shows. One of the reasons why they were really bad defensively last year, a lot of reasons. They were 24th in, defensive rating, according to Cleaning the Glass. It may have been worse if you look at the NBA.com numbers. One of the reasons they were bad is because they were god-awful offensively, and they were missing a ton of shots. And in today's NBA, I mean, you're running transition off makes, okay? And if you're missing a bunch, that's just giving them a little bit of an extra head start. And so if your team is not constantly committed to getting back and being able to impact transition, then you're going to get torched. If the shots are bad quality shots, if they're quick corner threes before everybody's back, miss, that comes off, it's immediate transition. Those kinds of things. So the Hornets did that a lot. That's part of why they're bad defensively. If the offense is shootier, if that comes to fruition and you actually shoot the ball better, then I think the defense will be less bootier because you're not going to have to play in transition as much. And that may be the calculus here. It's like, all right, we've got to improve. This offense was god-awful. And honestly, like if you look at the cleaning the glass numbers for offense and defensive efficiency, there were only 3 teams last season that had a below-average offense and an above-average defense. And those 3 teams were Orlando, which had the second-best defense only to Oklahoma City in the entire association, and they were 26th in offense. They were terrible. They dealt with a lot of injuries, but they were so good defensively, elite defensively, that it lifted them to 41 wins, okay? Another team, Miami, 9th defensively, 21st offensively. Toronto, 14th defensively, 25th offense, and they only managed 30 wins. And then Miami, 37 wins. Elite defense and terrible offense doesn't work in the NBA, but above average offense and below average defense can work in the NBA. And so, I think it's all about balance. These teams that are best in the league, Golden State was 7th defensively, 17th offensively. So there's another example of a team that was super elite defensively. That's not where the Hornets are going to be. I think their goal here is to be above average offensively, and then try to be, go from 24th defensively. If you can get that up to 17th, 16th, maybe you're average, then maybe you can work something out there defensively. And that was Milwaukee. Milwaukee last year, 48 wins on the 7th best offense in the league and the 16th best defense. Final thing here, roster. It's guardier. A lot of guards. And I think that's part of it. Again, you're trying to take yourself from like 28th, 29th offensively, and you're trying to rocket that up and then hope that the defense comes along with it. Okay, coming up on Locked On Hornets, we've got a lot more Sicko Satchel questions, including what costume I'm going to wear if we hit 10,000 subscribers. Hunter asked if there were expansion drafts, you could protect 8 players. Which players would you protect? That's a great question. Uniform combos, and we've got a Summer League preview all coming up here on Locked On Hornets. Today's episode of Locked On Hornets is brought to you by OpenPhone. If you're running a business like I do, every missed call can be a missed opportunity. Think about it. When is the last time that you had a service emergency that you needed to make a call about, and they asked you for a call back? Like, can we call you back? It's like, no, you can't call me back. Just answer the phone. I need you now. You probably didn't wait for that call back. That's why you need OpenPhone, the #1 business phone system that streamlines your customer communication and helps you scale, all from an app that's on your phone or your computer. I love that I don't need to carry 2 phones. I just got the one phone. With OpenPhone, I can manage my business calls and my texts from one app, whether I'm at my desk or I'm out on the go. My favorite feature is the shared inbox, because my whole team can jump into any conversation without missing a beat. Plus, AI call transcripts and summaries, they're game changers for staying on top of those follow-ups and customer interactions. Right now, OpenPhone is offering our listeners 20% off your first 6 months. Just go to openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. That's openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. It is a business game changer. If you're switching from another provider, they'll even port your number over for free. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers. More Locked On Hornets ahead. Back here on Locked On Hornets, thanks so much for making us your first listen every day. I'm sure you're hearing it in my voice, my brain thinking, don't say Locked On NBA. The other show that I host with Matt Moore and Hayes every day, talking about the NBA. And I host that show, so I'm often doing the sort of transitional reads where I say Locked On NBA, and my brain is going, don't say that. And it's like hiccuping and then going, Locked On Hornets. That's the show that we're doing right now, and we're taking your questions from the Sicko Satchel. We got to speed things up, folks. Going back to Shuman really quickly from the 22nd Mullins Regiment, he says, congrats on 9,000 subs on YouTube. Thank you. What's the plan when we hit 10,000? Is Grandmama coming back? The Grandmama costume, am I dragging it out of the closet and putting it back on? The answer is no, because I think Super Hugo would be more fun. Because somewhat Keith on Twitter asked if I would dress up as regular Hugo, I think that would be too difficult. But to find some teal spandex and like some kind of body suit that would give me fake muscles, I'm certainly, I think it would take me way longer than it's going to take us to get to 10,000 subs to get actual muscles. So I'll just buy one of the body suits. I think I could do Super Hugo and the teal balaclava, like to go over the face. I think all of that is possible. So Super Hugo, you'll see me dressed up doing a show as Super Hugo if we get to 10,000 subs. Let's make it happen. Hunter from the 43rd Joe Wolf Battalion. If there were expansion, and that's being talked about right now in the NBA, Adam Silver saying the league is exploring it. A lot of people think it's Seattle and Las Vegas. What does that mean for the Western Conference? Does Memphis move over? Does New Orleans move over? Would they move over into our division? Don't like that. But if expansion were to happen, typically, there's an expansion draft and teams can protect 8 players. Which players would you protect? Okay, I'm going to run this down. My easy keeps. It's LaMelo. It's Brandon Miller. It's Kon Knueppel. I think those are the 3 contracts that you're going to protect immediately, no questions asked. That's it. Then there are 2 players that I would qualify as like cost control players. We're going to keep these players because we don't really know what the future holds for them, but they're so cheap relative to the rest of what we could possibly get in that realm. And they're going to stay cheap for a long time, that you might as well just keep it and see what happens. And that's Liam McNeely and Tijan Salon. So right now I've got LaMelo, Brandon, Kon, Liam, and Tijan Salon. That's 5. And then I've got 3 players that I'm categorizing as team needs. Like, hey, after this expansion draft is over, if 2 of our players get selected, we've still got to function as a team. And so that's going to be Trey Mann, that's going to be Colin Sexton, and that's going to be Grant Williams. Also, the Colin Sexton piece, you want to keep that contract just for its tradability. And then there are a couple players that you pray aren't taken. That's going to be Kalkbrenner and Moussa Diabate. And maybe you would consider, just from a team strategic standpoint and contractual, and like, hey, we could trade this contract, maybe switch Grant for Miles Bridges. But Miles Bridges and Josh Green, they're definitely on the cut line, in my opinion. So for a lot of reasons, it's complicated. With Miles Bridges, it's complicated. Again, team strategic reason. I could see every reason why to keep Miles Bridges for both a team functional standpoint and a strategic standpoint. But it's my list. You asked me what I would do, and that's what I would do. I would say, please and thank you for both Josh Green and Miles Bridges. All right. Bobby Mace of the Walter Herman Hair Club division. Love that. How does the valuation of the 2027 draft impact the Hornets' willingness to use one of the picks to acquire a young center this year? Giving back Dallas their first for Lively would be a great option for Melo, Lively being a great option for LaMelo Ball to have as center. And Dallas can avoid the logjam with Daniel Gafford and Anthony Davis. So a couple of things there, Bobby Mace. The 2027 draft, if you haven't read the reporting about it, everybody's sort of sounding alarm bells like 2027 draft does not look very good. 26 draft with Boozer's kid and DeBonsa, like that looks like the draft that people are keying in on. And I don't have a 2026 mock draft for you today, but if you want one, you ask for it in the Sicko Satchel and I will deliver. But it looks like it's not going to be a great draft, which is not great news for the Hornets because they not only have their own 2027 pick, they've got Miami's and they've got Dallas's. And so he mentions Dallas here. I don't think Dallas wants their first round pick back. They're good because they're focused on winning a championship. And I think Lively is part of that. I think Gafford would be the more likely trade candidate. In fact, when he signed the contract, we noted on Locked On NBA that the number fell just below what it would need to fall under to move him this offseason, and maybe they just didn't find a willing trade partner. But I could see them unwinding that for Gafford. But I'm not sure that their own first-round pick is going to be as meaningful as someone else's first-round pick, as even the Charlotte Hornets' first-round pick in 2027. Hopefully, that's a garbage pick too. Like, hopefully the Hornets are so good that pick doesn't sell well. But yeah, like the 2027 draft being bad is kind of bad news for the Hornets, but also I feel like if you're using multiple first round picks so often, it's to get a team out of a jam. Like, all right, fine, I'll take the player that is disgruntled, but it is a player of a stature such that I've got to have 3 or 4 first round picks. I got to go back to my fan base, to, everyone, and say, we got 4 first round picks. Don't worry, folks. A lot of this happened with the KD trade and with so many of these trades where it's like, you've got to show picks. I mean, with the KD trade, it was like 5 second round picks. So then it becomes this idea of like, well, we just got to have picks. But there are certain situations where it's like, you got to have 4, so I still think that having those picks is an advantage. It might not be as big of an advantage, but I don't think it's going to stop them from, going after a player more so than just wanting to actually pay for that player. All right, I think we can do one more, maybe 2 in this segment. Davis of the 8th Bismack Brigade says, in the spirit of new kits, because on the Sicko Brigade, I texted a picture of the new kits for Charlotte FC, and it's a throwback to the Carolina Lightning, I believe, which was a soccer team. And but the font looked like Bobcats font. I shuddered. I was like, hey, trigger warning for Bobcats fans. That's the Bobcats font. So go check those out. It's the newest kits that they just released for Charlotte FC. So I texted that to the group, and so Davis is responding to that. What would a new uniform combo court redesign? What's one that you would like to see the Hornets try? I don't know about court. I'm famously on this podcast against any 90s nostalgia. I was for it, and then they shoved it down our throat year after year while losing year after year, and I'm just done with it. Great. I've done the 90s nostalgia. We've done the Muggsy. We even we started to leak into the 2000s with Baron Davis and Jamal Mashburn jerseys. Okay, I'm good. I'd like to start some new history, or at least if we're going to go back in history, go back to the last time this team made the playoffs. How about 15-16? Now, they're not going to do the sleeved jerseys, but I loved those black and teal Buzz City jerseys. So if you did, and those were Adidas, so Nike would have to sort of make their version of it. But the black and the teal and the Buzz City across the front, I loved the sleeve jerseys. I know a lot of people didn't, so don't bring back the sleeves. Cut the sleeves off, a jorts situation, just cut the sleeves off and do the Buzz City jerseys from 15-16. And maybe I guess an all, how would you do that? Maybe a teal themed court with black accents, because I don't think a black main court would show up on television. I don't even know how that would work. So, but do something in that realm for the court too. Why not? And just pay homage. I always think of Jeremy Lin when I think of those jerseys. I don't know why. Kimba is not the first. I think it was because they did the bobblehead of Jeremy Lin in that jersey. So maybe that's why. He might be actually sitting back somewhere. Oh yeah, he's sitting up top there in the black Buzz City sleeved jersey. So there you go. That's what I want. If we're going to do nostalgia, let's do current nostalgia. I know there are some people listening to this right now that are screaming, do a Bobcats, do the racing jersey or do the green ones. No, come on. Let's get real. I'm sick, but I'm not dying. Okay. I'm not ready to go there yet. They got to win something. I'll tell you what, if the Hornets win a playoff series, I will then get into some kind of ironic mindset about let's throw back to the Bobcats. But to throw back to the Bobcats before they win anything would be the most pathetic thing on the planet. Okay? We can pay homage to, that's the time to do it. Pay homage to the, God bless the broken road that led me here. Okay? But we got to get here first. We can't do the Bobcats thing until we get somewhere where it was okay, all of that may have been slightly worth it. Okay, got a couple more questions, and then I do want to do a Summer League preview. Game 4 against the Spurs, both teams 3-0 with a chance to maybe do some Summer League postseason action. Will Kon Knueppel play? I think he should, and I'll tell you why coming up on Locked On Hornets. Today's episode of Locked On Hornets is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? I would like more money, and I would like managing it to be easier. So yes, Monarch Money, you are in my brain right now. With Monarch Money, it can be. Whether you're saving up or planning something big like I'm doing right now, the family is trying to figure out how we're going to get the baby to Disney World at some point. And so we're planning that trip, and we're using Monarch Money to do that. Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch is not just a budgeting app. It is a full financial command center. You can track your accounts, your investments, your spending, and even plan for those future goals. All in one clean, easy to use app. That means less time stressing over your money and more time making it work for you. And if you share finances with someone like I do, Monarch makes it money to stay on the same page without, man, this speaks right to me, awkward spreadsheets. Like, what do I do here? My partner is a spreadsheet wizard, knows her way around every aspect of an Excel spreadsheet. I do not. That is not my forte. And so it always got awkward. You don't have to deal with that with Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. More Locked On NBA, I did it! More Locked On Hornets ahead. Back here on Locked On Hornets, thanks so much for making us your first listen every day. If you listen to the end of the last advertisement, I did it. I slipped into Locked On NBA. I tried so hard to miss the mine under my foot, and I stepped on it. But we soldier on here at the Sicko Brigade. More questions, rapid fire, and then I'm going to do a preview of this Summer League game. Ready, set, go. Sean of the 5th Book Night Division. How mad would you be if the bushels came off in Phoenix and Nick Richards and Mark Williams just started draining threes? So for a long time, I thought Nick Richards was hiding that thing under a bushel, that three-point shot. I saw him do it a few times in like warm-ups. Thought, yeah, he's holding on to it. If they started launching them in Phoenix, I would be apoplectic. I would start asking questions about who's over big men shooting with the Hornets. Why could we not get this figured out? And we better get it figured out with Ryan Kalkbrenner. I would be enraged. I don't know what I would do, honestly. It might be a little bit dangerous to think about what I would do if Mark Williams and Nick Richards suddenly did that. Casual Hindu of the First Lance Stevenson Division. If you were GM for one day of the year, which day would you choose? Would you choose draft day, free agent opening day, trade deadline? And what would you try to do? If it helps, you can pick a specific day in the past. For instance, I'd probably pick the trade deadline this year and try my little heart out to move Miles and the leftover guards like Dinwiddie, Josh, and Pat. Actually, I'd go back, and this is still Casual Hindu, changes his mind in the midst of the text. Actually, I'd go back to the 2021 NBA draft and take Şengün instead of Book Night, LOL. I mean, look, if you're giving me a specific day, there are plentiful within the Hornets history. I mean, you could go back and keep Kobe and just say, forget it, Lakers. We're calling Kobe's bluff. He will play for the Charlotte Hornets. He's just bluffing here. Let's move forward. You could keep SGA. You could say, actually, we want to take SGA. Clippers, knock it off. Go away. That could potentially give you an MVP and solve a lot of heartache in the future. You could take Donovan Mitchell over Malik Monk, and Steve Clifford might have won a playoff series in that case. You could take Devin Booker over Frank Kaminsky, and I'm saying that, one of the least Devin Booker fans on the planet. But if I were GM, I would leave a little note in the desk to like, hey, make sure to sell high on Devin Booker before he turns in to Devin Schnooker. I'd probably keep SGA. That'd be the data that I pick because I think keeping Kobe would eventually, he wouldn't be able to do anything about it early, and you might have some early success with Kobe Bryant. I think he'd eventually, he wanted to go to LA. So eventually that would have become a problem, and I don't think it was a problem that money would have been able to solve or that the Hornets would have been able to shell out enough money, as we found out with I think, in particular, Alonzo Mourning. The money didn't solve that problem. The problem was Alonzo wanted to go play in Miami. But I'm not picking any of those days because you've given me the power of time travel. So instead, GM for a day, I pick July 31st, 1999. What? July 31st? I guess you're in the midst of free agency, but you're pretty late into free agency even for the late 90s. Why July 31st, 1999? Well, that was the day before Ray Woolridge closed the deal to buy a stake in the Charlotte Hornets that represented almost half of the team. And Ray Woolridge, of course, bought that stake with the intent of moving the team to Memphis or New Orleans. And eventually the team would move to New Orleans. But Ray Woolridge snaking his way into the world of George Shinn, and George Shinn allowing the snake in the grass, is a huge part of why the Charlotte Hornets, forget the city not wanting to give George Shinn an arena. Ray Woolridge started these dominoes. Without Ray Woolridge in the picture, I really do feel like either Shinn would have sold a stake to Michael Jordan or something else would have happened that would have kept the Charlotte Hornets in Charlotte, and we would have never had to go through the Bobcats, and I would have never cried as, I don't know, what was I, 10 or 11 years old? I mean, I would have cried if I were 30. I would cry right now if the Charlotte Hornets left. So here's what I do. I go back in time. I'm GM for a day. I only get a day. I only get 24 hours. So you didn't put any restrictions on what I could take, the size of my time machine. So I would take with me a dossier, and in that dossier would be plentiful evidence. Second time I've said plentiful on the show today. Plentiful evidence, third time, that Ray Woolridge is a con man and he is trying to take what George Shinn built. I would really play to George Shinn's ego and say, look, this guy is not only going to take this team to New Orleans, you guys are going to end up fighting over the stake of the team. This is going to end badly for everyone. So just keep the team in Charlotte. You're eventually going to have to sell the team back to the NBA because things go so poorly in New Orleans to start off with. So just, George, don't do it. George, don't do it. And then I go back to my own time and I find out if I was successful. And I may have changed everything. Who knows? I mean, historical events could be vastly different. Butterfly effect. The Hornets might not be playing in a Summer League game 4. Being 3-0. I might have ruined the Hornets' opportunity at a Summer League championship. But instead, I don't have that power, and they do play the Spurs tonight. No Dylan Harper. Yes, that means Ace Bailey, VJ Edgecombe, Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper, the 1, 2, 3, and 5 pick around Kon Knueppel. None of them played the Charlotte Hornets in Summer League. Unbelievable. We don't get any of the matchups, the juicy matchups. When the schedule came out, I was like, oh man, on down the line, I expected someone to sit later on. But to have all those guys sit, that is a pretty big disappointment. Who I think shouldn't sit is Kon Knueppel. Already missed one game. I think Kon Knueppel should play, and here's why. Unless he's not healthy. Like if the ankle is really an issue, then obviously, make health a priority. But don't make health a fake priority. If he can play, let Kon play. And here's why. It's not a Cooper Flagg or a Dylan Harper situation or a VJ Edgecombe situation. It's closer to an Ace Bailey situation where Kon is playing with players right now in Liam McNeely, Sion James, Ryan Kalkbrenner, Tijan Salan, who are fully contracted players, and then KJ Simpson, who's a two-way player. It's not a situation where Kon is playing with a bunch of guys that are going to be exclusively with the Greensboro Swarm. If that were the case, I'd say, Kon, take a seat. We saw one game, great, thumbs up, see you later. This is done, him playing tonight and even into a game with stakes, you're playing with players that you are very likely to play with in the next 2 seasons for the Charlotte Hornets. Ryan Kalkbrenner is going to get minutes, I think, unless they make some drastic move at center. He's going to get minutes. And I think that Liam McNeely might earn some minutes. We'll see. But Kon has an opportunity to build a relationship with these players that are part of the future of the franchise. So I think Kon should play. If you disagree with me, let me know in the comments on YouTube, youtube.com/@LockedOnHornets. And, I think they're going to be mostly about we've seen enough and we've seen injury, but I don't buy that. I don't, and we could have a larger conversation about rest in the NBA, particularly for young players. Like, you need experience. You need reps, real game reps. Practice, not the same. Even doing 5-on-5s in practice, not the same. Running scrimmages, not the same. You need the reps. So getting him as comfortable as possible with the game and with those particular teammates, I think is super important. I am excited to see Liam McNeely. He and Sion James both sat in the last game. So I'd like to see more. I'd like to answer a question about Liam and Kon playing next to each other, because I think Liam sucked up a little bit of the oxygen. Once Kon started playing tight in the first game, I think Liam sensed that and was like, all right, well, I'm going to do my thing. So I'd love to see how they interplay a little bit more. And I'd love to see Kon play a little bit more 2-5, whatever, with Ryan Kalkbrenner and run some more stuff there. Because again, I think we have a chance to see that with the bench unit as soon as this season with the Charlotte Hornets. Okay, that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Hornets. Thanks so much for your support, particularly everyone, but particularly those who have gone to YouTube and hit the subscribe button, getting us to 9,000. We are less than 100 away from Locked On Suns, and I think it puts us into the top 10 in the NBA vertical of the Locked On Podcast Network. And that's incredible because, look, we're small in terms of fan base, but we are mighty. We are sick. But the reality is, like, when you're not winning a lot, there aren't a lot of us. And so to know that so many of you have supported this show with a subscription is super meaningful. And those on the Sicko Brigade, you are a foundation, a pillar of what we do here every day. And the product that we provide free, it will always be free. This podcast will always be free and available to you wherever you get podcasts. Walker is back from his vacation on Monday. David Walker joins me tomorrow. Until then, this is Doug Branson saying, go Hornets, go America, let's swarm Charlotte.